The movie starts with a young woman carrying her baby away from the men in black and soon arriving at a dead end. While the men are about to take her life, suddenly, a dog named Taz leaps on the fence to attack them, and she immediately escapes to hide her baby. Many years later, the baby, now an adult named Angelino, works as a pizza delivery guy in Dark Meat City, where the people are going insane every day. While on his way, he encounters a beautiful woman who instantly attracts Lino. Unfortunately, he gets hit by a truck, but he survives and gets fired from his job. As he walks home, he has to keep his head down and his mouth shut when he encounters the gang. If he even thinks of disrespecting those guys, he's done, and Lino lives by his rule, which is don't cause no trouble for nobody, and they might do the same. Every day he hopes he can make it home alive. He lives in Hotel Guadalupe for 4 years with his best friend Vince, who is a lazy guy and doesn't clean up after he eats. As Vince notices a bruise on Lino's face, Lino tells him he got hit by a truck that came out of nowhere and complains that people these days should learn how to drive. Lino asks Vince if he fed the roaches yet, but Vince wonders why the roaches can't eat what is on the floor. Lino says the floor is nasty, and roaches have sensitive tummies, which Lino reads somewhere. Lino doesn't know what to do as the rent is 2 months late, and they don't have any jobs. He asks Vince if they should talk to Millie, but Vince refuses as Millie is a weird guy. Lino then feeds the roaches, which freaks Vince out, and Vince can't believe Lino also eats the pet food. Vince knows this is a bad apartment, but he wants Lino to have at least some standards. Vince says if the roaches get out of there before they do, it sucks. At night, while sleeping, Lino dreams of when he gets hit by a truck. He suddenly teleports into a magical world where he meets Taz the dog who saved him from the men in black. At that time, Taz rushes to attack Lino, and he immediately wakes up from a nightmare. The next morning, Vince worries about Lino as he seems rough, and Lino keeps having messed up dreams as he thinks this is because of the accident. Soon, Willie comes to knock on their door, and as Vince doesn't want to open the door for him, he yells out until he makes one of Vince's neighbors named Nazi mad, and now Vince has to let him in, or Nazi is going to kill him. When Willie comes in, his loud voice makes Lino's head feel like it's going to burst, and he asks Willie to keep his tone down. Willie complains about their neighbor, saying that this is a free country, and his founding father died for his right to yell in hallways. Vince wonders why Willie is here, and Willie is just there to ask them to hang out and get some froyo or something. While on their way, Lino hates to take a bus, but he realizes that people get shot more by walking, so the bus is the best choice for him. However, Lino and Vince talk about escaping one day, but they have no cars or money, so they continue to live their lives with the roaches and take the bus every day. Suddenly, Lino sees a priest walking by with the shadow of a monster, which freaks him out, and he asks his friends if they see it too, but none of them do. As they arrive, Lino feels dizzy and sees everyone with shadows of monsters just like the priest. Vince notices that Lino is not well and asks him if he wants to go back home and chill, but Lino refuses and tells them that he suddenly starts to see weird things, which freaks him out. Lino lets them look at people's shadows, but they don't see anything, and they think Lino is a crazy dude now. While eating, suddenly Lino's crush Luna, whom he had encountered the day before, walks into the restaurant, causing his heart to beat insanely. Lino becomes shy when Luna looks at him and immediately gets out of the restaurant. As they walk, Lino tells his friends that he thinks someone is tailing them. The person is dressed in a black suit, pretending to talk on a phone, and has been following Lino for a while now. Lino and his friends go to the trail road to see if they are really being followed. When the men walk past them, Vince blames Lino, but the men immediately show up, which scares them off. Once they continue their walk, Vince doesn't know what they are supposed to do, so Lino suggests they go into ninja mode. Lino gives out the plan when they turn the corner, and as soon as they are out of the men's sight, they have to run. While they are being chased, Willie stumbles into the garbage and manages to slow down 2 of the men. Soon, Lino grabs a trash can to throw at the last man and kicks him with full force in his face, while Vince pushes the iron trash can to knock him out. At the Guadalupe Hotel, a gangster whom Lino encounters earlier in the movie is shot dead when he pulls out his gun, and the hotel is now surrounded by cops. They head to Lino's room, and not long after Lino is struck by the cops yet, he manages to survive on his own and kill 2 of them, but he is surprised to see that the cops are his own kind, and eventually he escapes into the sewer with Vince. Bruce, who is the leader of the Man in Black, and also the one who orders his elite squad to capture Lino, is shocked to see that Lino has killed 2 of their elite squad. In the past, Lino's mother is caught by Bruce, and as she fakes the baby and hides Lino somewhere else, she is killed when she refuses to tell where Lino is. Back in the present, Lino calls Willie to find him another spot as he can't live in this hood, but Willie hangs up on him since he can't hold his poop. As Lino and Vince return back home, they are covered by the gangs who say that this place is not for small guys like them, but once they are shot by another gang, Lino and Vince have an opportunity to get out of there. As they arrive at their place, Lino misses his roaches. He reads that lost cats can travel like hundreds of miles to find their owner, and he wishes his roaches could do that too. When Lino turns on the TV, they find out they are now wanted criminals criminals who violated the police, and Lino can't believe that yesterday he was just a normal dude who minded his own business, and today he is a terrorist. However, Vince encourages him to look at the bright side. At least they don't have to worry about someone calling the police on them there. At the hotel, suddenly Lino's roaches are getting out of there and heading to Lino. Later, the man in black arrives at Lino's place and attempts to capture him, but they are approached by a gangster who is impressed by their suit. As Bruce disrespects him, the gangster immediately takes out one of his men. They shoot back at him, causing the gang to suddenly show up and strike with them. While the guns are firing, Lino realizes that the man in black has found them, so he and Vince quickly get out of there. Bruce orders two of his men to chase Lino, however they also get chased by the gang and end up hitting a light pole. The gang then goes to finish them off, yet the last man suddenly turns into a monster and kills every one of them. Lino, who is on top of the roof, sees this and realizes it is the shadow monster that he saw the day before, which those monsters are known as machos. They steal an ice cream truck to continue their escape, and at once the man in black is already on their trail. While being chased, Lino lets Vince do something, so Vince throws ice creams at their car to block the view, and it works like a charm, but there are two more cars remaining. Vince then drags the police to also join the party when he fires at the man in black in front of him. As there is a red traffic light ahead of Lino, he then speeds up to get through the road in time and manages to stop another car of man in black, which is now the only car remaining. As there is no more way to escape, Lino decides to hit through the sewer fence and survive the fall, which the last man in black immediately dies when they follow Lino. After Vince and Lino leave, Bruce orders his men to set up a perimeter and start where Vince and Lino were last spotted. Later, they arrive at the restaurant they used to eat, and when Lino sees Luna in there alone, he suggests they should go in and tells Vince it's gonna be okay. Lino then lets Luna know everything about them, and she says both of them can't run forever, which she lets them surrender themselves to the police as there are tons of ways to prove they are innocent. However, Luna is a member of Bruce, which she informs him about Lino, and both of them finally get captured. Lino is now locked up in the interrogation chamber, and Mr. K, who is the race of machos, introduces himself to Lino and tells Lino the story of his father, who is stubborn just like him. Lino's father is also macho, which he has so much potential, but later he falls in love with Lino's mother, who is a normal human, and he breaks their most fundamental law, which is never to breed with a human. When Lino's mother gives birth to him, he also has macho blood flowing through him, and Mr. K asks Lino to return where he belongs, and also tells him to kill Vince as he is keeping Lino from reaching his true potential, which Mr. K wants Lino to abandon his humanity and become who he was always meant to be, as Luna is the only key to drag Lino to do all of this. Mr. K then sends her to convince him. While Mr. K sees Lino slowly accepting his true nature and about to become a macho, he considers this as a Phase 1 victory, and next he plans to take over the world as machos have already begun to infiltrate the economic and financial strata of every city in the nation. However, when Luna holds on to Lino's hand, she sees all of his memories when his mother tries to save him from the man in black, which makes her upset. After Luna releases his hand, Lino immediately returns back to normal. Mr. K decides to release him and orders Bruce to take him to the cell where Vince is waiting. He lets Lino make his own choice to kill Vince, and if Vince is still alive the next morning, Bruce will kill them both. When Lino gets into the cell, Vince complains about his pain as they run all kinds of tests on him, and electrodes are placed everywhere on his body. However, Lino doesn't understand what Vince is telling him as he is possessed by his macho, and Vince is immediately attacked by him. The macho that controls Lino lets Vince know that there is no Lino anymore, and says that the pathetic being that Vince called Lino is just an illusion. When the macho asks if Vince knows who he is, Vince immediately replies that he is his friend, which makes Lino return to normal and apologize to Vince for what he has done to him. However, not long after, Lino turns into the macho again and attacks the cell guards. Mr. K, who is watching him from a security camera, is glad to see Lino turn into what he expects. Later, one of Mr. K's scientists rebels against him and asks other scientists to come with him, but they refuse as they are scared for their lives. Lino's roaches have already arrived at the base, and a bunch of wrestlers have raided the base as well to help the scientists out. The wrestlers then take out every one of the cops. Nonetheless, Lino lost consciousness and was carried out by one of the wrestlers. Suddenly he dreams of his father, who tells Lino that he did everything in his power to keep Lino and his mother safe, but the machos are too strong for him, and Lino's father lets him become who he truly is. A few days later, Lino regains consciousness, and the wrestlers are building a large rocket led by the scientist to save the world. However, Vince and Lino flee from the town as Vince says they both can't even save themselves, and how could they save the world? They plan to escape to Mexico, but Vince doesn't feel right about skipping town like this, as he doesn't know what they're going to do there since they don't have any marketing skills. Soon after, Lino suddenly realizes he forgets about Willie, and he believes Willie thinks they both are dead. Vince still has $1 left, and he lets Lino hit him him up if he wants to. Unfortunately, a man in black who they all knocked out at the trail road threatened Willie to convince Lino and Vince to come back to the hood. Lino feels something isn't right about Willie and asks Vince to go back to see Willie, but Vince argues with him as it's too risky to go back to the dark meat city. However, a few minutes later, Vince changes his mind and gets Lino to save Willie together. While Vince and Lino arrive at the hood, they are messed around by the gang again, and the man prepares his snip to strike at Lino, yet hits one of the gang, which gets him into trouble. Seeing Willie in this situation, Lino decides to go help Willie out of there, which he states he may be a loser, but he isn't a coward, and he manages to rescue Willie in time. At the same moment, the wrestlers release the rocket to explode into the sky, which changes the climate to snowy immediately, and every macho who disguises as human is frozen to death. Lino, who is also half macho, can't move his body now. Suddenly, Luna shows up in front of him, and as she kisses him, his body is warming up again. Unfortunately, Bruce also arrives to kill Luna because she betrayed him, but she is saved by Lino when Bruce's gun is out of bullets as he just killed the gang earlier. However, Lino is beaten up by Bruce repeatedly, and Lino refuses to use his macho against Bruce as he doesn't want the monster to control him again. As Bruce is about to finish Lino, the gang suddenly appears behind Bruce and they fire at him with approximately 200 bullets to revenge for their member. 2 months later, everything returns back to normal. Willie is now a rapper, and Vince finally gets the job. About Lino, he writes a love letter to Luna, which he thinks of her all the time, and he hopes she would think of him too. In the end, Mr. K sends the machos from the moon to take over the earth once again. And this is it for this movie. I hope you enjoy my recap, and please leave a like if you did. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss out on my new video.